Muradin Bronzebeard is the High Thane of the Bronzebeard clan, and the younger brother of the former Dwarven king Magni Bronzebeard, and the older brother of the renowned explorer Brand Bronzebeard. He was a second war hero for the Alliance and later served as envoy to Lordaeron, where he made friends with and trained in fighting with the young Prince Arthas Menethil. When Arthas obtained the runeblade Frostborn, it was thought that Muradin died in Northrend. However, it was discovered during the war against the Lich King that Muradin had survived his close call and was now wandering the wastes of Northrend without any recollection of his past. He was finally discovered by the Frostborn, who appointed him as Yorick Stormheart, the chief of their clan. Years later, Muradin was rediscovered by his brothers and he rejoined the Alliance, leading its forces during the siege of Icecrown Citadel. After his older brother Magni was turned into stone during the Shattering, Muradin went back to Ironforge to take the helm of his clan in the Council of Three Hammers. He believes that the Dwarven clans should put the past behind them and work together to create a new future, but he is still wary of his niece Moira and her capacity to rule her own people. Muradin defended his country at the Siege of Ironforge, worked as the official go-between for Lordaeron and Cosmodan during the Second War, and travelled with the Alliance troops just before the fights at Blackrock Spire and the Dark Portal. He became friendly with the royal family during that time and became a friend of the young Prince Arthas. Muradin was the Dwarven ambassador for Lordaeron while Arthas was being tutored by him. Muradin noticed Arthas hitting an ancient piece of armor amid this confusion because the city was so large and he frequently got lost. He called Lord Davil Prester a friend while in Lordaeron and talked about what would happen to Alterac and Aidan Perinold with Terrace Menethil and Thoris Trollbane. Additionally, he grew close to the cooks and didn't appreciate Crix Wicklish continuing to stay at the table after the king requested him to do so, since he refused to share his pastries. The goblin left after Muradin, who disapproved of the plan, reminded him of the king's command. Muradin decided to teach Arthas everything he knew about using a sword as he grew older, and the two grew to be good friends on many adventures. Muradin was also a founder member of the Dwarven Explorers League, an organization devoted to global exploration and archaeology. Muradin visited Northrend throughout his travels and developed a fascination for the barren land. He frequented it, sketching its crumbling architecture and witnessing its vicious locals. Muradin last encountered Arthas on one of his expeditions to Northrend in quest of the runeblade Frostborn. Arthas betrayed his own warriors in his ambition to defeat the Dreadlord Mal'Ganis by having Muradin lead him to Frostmourne. The Dreadlords actually tricked the expedition's dwarves by placing Frostmourne related hints at their camp which they were unaware of. The shift in the young prince alarmed the more experienced and wise Muradin, but Arthas disregarded his advice. When the ice holding the cursed blade broke and a sharp shard pierced Muradin, it was believed that he was the cursed weapon's first victim. Muradin had spoken a final desperate warning concerning the blade. Although Arthas did not make one last attempt to heal Muradin with the light before he took off Frostmourne, other accounts stated that Arthas caused Muradin's death upon taking the sword, which is correct from a certain point of view since Arthas created the explosion. The remaining dwarves were given authority by Belgon Flamebeard after Muradin's death and led them into the abandoned city of Ajolnarub beneath Icecrown Glacier. Adventurers from the Alliance can witness a flashback of Arthas and Muradin's conversation from before Arthas claimed Frostmourne in the Frostmourne Cavern in Dragonblight during the war against the Lich King. It demonstrates that Muradin was only wounded and rendered unconscious when the ice enclosing Frostmourne broke. He was not killed. Muradin woke up shortly after Arthas left. He stumbled into the snow while feeling confused, hurt, and completely forgetful. A band of Frostborn dwarves eventually located Muradin by following his trail of bloodstained snow in a brutal blizzard. These Frostborn were simply returning to Frosthold after a journey over the Dragonblight. They carried their newly discovered relative with them because they were unwilling to let him freeze to death, and the Jormungandr soon attacked them. They took him in when he single-handedly defeated the worm and rescued the dwarves, naming him Yorick Stormheart after a great Frostborn warrior. Later, Muradin, or Yorick, rose to power as the ruler of the Frostborn and united them with the Alliance, which was making its way into Northrend to engage in combat with the Lich King, the Blue Dragonflight, and the Iron Dwarves. Even though his people had made friends with the Alliance and the Explorers Guild, he expressed worry about entangling them in conflicts that would lead to their deaths. After being reunited with Bran and Magni, Muradin remembers his forgotten memories. Then, he departs from the Frost Dwarves to look out for Arthas. Muradin was succeeded as their leader by Velok Icebellow. Inside Icecrown Citadel at Light's Hammer, Muradin is standing next to Tyrion Fordring. Later, during the gunship battle at Icecrown Citadel, Muradin piloted the gunship Skybreaker. He takes the Alliance to Deathbringer's Rise after the gunship battle, where they run across Deathbringer's Saurfang. Varrock Saurfang will arrive in a small zeppelin to collect his son once you destroy the Deathbringer, but Muradin must stop him and refuse him to let through. Saurfang's father is given permission to collect his son's body by King Varian, who steps in on his behalf and mentions that the Wrathgate survivors had mentioned how the young orc had died honorably. Jaina Proudmoore sobs in tears as she expresses gratitude to her king for doing this. If Alliance players spoke to Muradin after killing Deathbringer Saurfang, he said the following before the Plague Works wing of the Citadel was opened. To open these doors, I've brought in the best gnomes we have. Before that door is opened, they predict that it will be another 28 days. When someone with the right task presents Arthas' training sword to Muradin, who can be found in Light's Hammer regardless of faction, Muradin talks adoringly about Arthas and laments that he wasn't able to prevent him from claiming Frostborn. Muradin fought to defend Ironforge's mystic ward from the ravaging elementals during the elemental invasion. King Magni had performed the ritual in Old Ironforge, hoping to placate the forces of nature. His daughter Moira attempted to take control of Ironforge, but King Varian's intervention forced her to do so as a member of a council that Muradin was asked to participate in. However, Muradin was nowhere to be discovered at the moment, despite attempts to track him down by griffins. Muradin represented Clan Bronzebeard, Moira represented Clan Dark Iron, and Kurdron Wildhammer, who had recently visited Outland, spoke on behalf of the Wildhammer clan. Kurdron was cheerfully welcomed by Muradin, and the two warriors exchanged many anecdotes over mugs of beer. They even took Magni to Old Ironforge. They disagreed on whether the hammer of the High King should be reforged as a sign of unity, which damaged their friendship. Muradin insisted that Kurdron proceeded with the plan for the benefit of his clan, even after Kurdron discovered that the hammer's component parts were fakes, because he believed the symbolism was what mattered. Muradin moved to support Kurdron when he decided to publicly destroy the pieces rather, arguing that the Dwarf should be looking for the future rather than the past, which forced Moira to do the same. Following that, Kurdron left the council and granted Falstad his place. The Council of the Three Hammers, comprised of Muradin, Moira and Falstad, is now in charge of the united Dwarven clans. It sits in the High Seat. Clan Bronzebeard's delegate to the council is Muradin. Commander Stonebreaker sends a traveler to report what transpired to the council after the Dark Iron clan, who are loyal to the Twilight's Hammer, attempted to attack the Ironforge airfield but were repulsed. Stonebreaker is charged with treason and accused of working against the birthright of Moira's son. Moira dismisses the allegation as nonsense. Muradin disapproves of Moira's aspiration to the throne and attests to Stonebreaker's allegiance. Falstad then proposes that Moira shouldn't be seated at the table after he insults her for failing to govern her followers. In response, Moira sends the intrepid traveler to capture the treacherous ambassador Slaghammer. Muradin gave Forbes Slapchisel the responsibility of heading the team sent to assess the wetlands damage after the Stormrod Dam was destroyed. Lily Stormstout paid the three rulers a visit while she searched for Magni. The council was unable to assist her, and Muradin informed Lily about Magni's situation. King Varian's scouts had learned one day that the Zandalari trolls had made a threat to the capital of the dwarves by organizing the Frostmane trolls against them. The king reasoned that if he solved their troll problem, they would undoubtedly provide him with more soldiers for his fight against the horde. But the king was unaware that there was no mutual trust amongst the dwarves. When Varian asked the Council of Three Hammers for assistance, Muradin and Falstad both declined, out of concern that the Dark Irons would use their absence to beat the remaining clan and seize control of Ironforge if they left to fight the Frostmane trolls. Frustrated, Varian stated that Ironforge would come under assault if no one offered assistance. The only person to offer assistance was Moira Thorison, who promised that the Dark Iron's defense of Ironforge would demonstrate their allegiance to the Council, Ironforge, and the Alliance. The others were left to consider their course of action while Moira and the High King went off in the snow to save the city. Ironforge was saved by the High King, his champions, and the Dark Iron dwarves. The other dwarven chiefs were ashamed of their actions upon their return and pledged never once more to let mistrust or fear cloud their judgment. All three dwarven leaders vowed to give the Alliance their all once they could trust one another. Muradin supported the idea of forming a group with Fenella Darkfire, Carrick Irongrin, and Fendrick Redbeard to assist in the reconstruction of the Jade Serpent Monument. Muradin was present in the Temple of the White Tiger when Zuen wrote to invite him and the other Alliance leaders to Garrosh Hellscream's trial. To alert the commander to different dangers facing the Draenor campaign, Muradin travels to Lunarfall. He is one of the many garrison visitors who might show there each day. Muradin told his brother about the Council of Three Hammers, how they had done everything to bring the petrified Magni back, and how Ironforge had altered significantly while the king was gone when he finally awoke from his petrification. Magni responded, "She told me it was time." When the man next inquired about how he ultimately managed to liberate Magni, Falstad started to grumble when Magni visited the city he had previously governed, but Muradin advised him to let him get his head straight. The council then started debating the effects of Magni's homecoming. Muradin argued that according to all the laws under the mountain, Magni was entitled to the city, but Magni simply retorted that he had not come to retake his crown. The former king then declared a dire warning regarding the return of the Burning Legion and left to warn the other alliance leaders, claiming that he had not have enough time to address all of Muradin's inquiries. During the Legion invasion incident, Muradin oversaw the defense of Dun Moreau alongside the other Council of the Three Hammers members. Muradin weeps for his former friend while attending Varian Rin's funeral. Muradin reacts angrily when a Death Knight comes bearing the blades of the fallen prince. Muradin and the other important alliance commanders can be found in Stormwind Keep after an alliance player obtains prestige rank 2. He attends the event held by King Anduin Rin in a royal audience, which commends the character for their victories over the Horde and follows their receipt of the Grand Marshal's Medal of Valor from the king as well as an artifact appearance. Muradin welcomed King Anduin Rin, who had given Ironforge 10 carts of barley as a member of the Council of Three Hammers. After a feast to commemorate the gift, they departed with Falstad and Velen, so that Anduin and Moira could converse. Later, Magni Bronzebeard called a meeting with the leaders of the Alliance, and he was one of them. Muradin paid attention to Anduin's discovery of Azerite, and Magni's needs for healers to restore Azeroth. Muradin observed that a city may be completely destroyed without enough Azerite. One potential alliance commander in the Battle of Stormguard is Muradin. All three of the Council of Three Hammered dwarven clans are represented among Muradin's Ironforge armies. Over time, the alliance emerged triumphant and seized control of Stormguard. Later, he and the other alliance commanders were on board to the Kulturan ship at Stormwind Harbor to witness the Kulturans giving their ship to Anduin and rejoining the alliance. Muradin was present in the Stormwind Embassy meeting after N'Zoth fell, where he heard that the ceasefire ending the Fourth War between the Horde and Alliance had been signed. He was open to prospect of peace, despite not being able to trust the Horde after all they had done, especially in light of Sylvana Windrunner's betrayal. He pledged that the Bronzebeard clan would put the Horde in their place if the drums of war were to sound again. And that is the story of Muradin Bronzebeard. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.